Okay, we are live once again. The Canvas live streams, we're nonstop these days. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're doing a lot of Canvas live streams. We have tons tomorrow, but before we get to that, we have our good friends from Alaska. A lot of Alaska state leaders in the call today. Really excited to just discuss a recent virtual Canvas Leadership Institute, which for those of you that don't know, the Canvas Virtual Leadership Institute is a program that Canvas puts on that can be found, and I'll share the links in the comment sections as we get rolling here and we start doing some introductions. But if you're interested, it is a great series put on by our Center for Leadership and Learning here at Canvas that focuses on deepening Canvas adoption and really fast tracking some of those maybe not so thrilled individuals to get into Canvas and start working their magic. And I think it's worked some magic in Alaska. That's why we have them on the call today to really talk about their success and some of the things that they took away. But before we get started, I'm going to allow each of them to maybe go around the room and introduce themselves to our audience today that's joining us from all social media platforms from around the world. We'll start with you, Ali.
Hey, appreciate that. So Ali Larajani, I work in the Mat-Su-Borough School District, just a little bit north of Anchorage, Alaska. We're a district of about 19,000 students in roughly 46 schools or so, and work as a educational technologist / instructional coordinator for the district. And I appreciate you for the invite.
Yeah, it's good having you. Matt, where are you from?
Hello, I'm Matthew Gore. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska, but I live on beautiful Prince of Wales here in Southeast Alaska. I'm the technology director for Southeast Island School District, and we're going down the Canvas adventure rabbit hole.
We love to hear it.
And hey, everybody, my name is Tammy Van Wy. I am the Division Director for Innovation and Education Excellence at the Alaska Department of Education and Early Development. Our main office is in Juneau, Alaska, southeast. I'm currently in Juneau, where it is literally raining and snowing sideways. So great to be with everybody today.
And I am Dave Dick. I am a principal learning consultant with Canvas, and I have the pleasure of being dedicated with Alaska K-12, all the school districts. So I get to work with Ali, Matthew, Tammy, all these people from the smallest districts of 5 to 10 students up to Anchorage, which has 50, 60,000 students. So it's very exciting working with all the different size districts.
Tammy, can you speak? We'll just jump right in. Why not? Right, we're here. So, can you speak a little bit about your Canvas adoption there in Alaska and what kind of led you to providing such a huge? Not a lot of states, right? We've got lots of states that have decided to do this, but I don't know if there are a lot of states that are like, man, do we want to take on such a large animal? Like providing an LMS for the entire state. So could you walk us through maybe what some of those conversations sounded like?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks for the question, Eddie. So, I think like in a lot of states, the conversation about Canvas in Alaska started with the early days of the pandemic. I mean, as sad as that is, it took a global pandemic for us to start thinking about how we can leverage technology in a way statewide that really supports teaching and learning in significant ways. So our statewide project really kind of launched over the summer. Our Commissioner of Education, Michael Johnson, was looking for additional ways for us to really provide tools and supports and resources to districts. We already had a lot of districts across the state. I shouldn't say a lot of districts. I should say some significant districts with a lot of students. Some of our larger districts were already using Canvas. So when we were deciding kind of which direction would be best as far as a tool, Canvas was pretty natural as far as that kind of first stop, because we did have a lot of educators and students already engaged with the platform. Taking the leap was pretty big because, of course, a statewide adoption is expensive and it requires a lot of work. But our commissioner and staff at the department were really looking beyond the pandemic, looking way beyond Canvas as a pandemic solution, looking to an LMS like Canvas that could be used across the state, not just to support individual districts like those represented by Ali and Matthew, but a way for us in Alaska to link educators, to link students, provide educators with a really powerful tool, and to provide some infrastructure that will, outlast the pandemic and hopefully outlast all of us that are kind of getting things set up. We hope this is something that will stick around for a really long time.
I love that. That's something that's been brought up a lot. This is not just the tool of the times because of the pandemic, that we are in an age where we want to see this become a reality long term, right? So, Ali, can you speak a little bit about what Canvas adoption is like in your district? And then obviously Matt being he said we're going down the rabbit hole. He's the new guy in the room. So Ali, talk a little bit about what Canvas is like there in your district.
Yeah, so I guess I could kind of begin with just my personal history with the product, and so I was using it in the classroom for years as a free version of the product, and then in kind of at the tail end of last school year is when I transitioned into my new role with the district, so out of the classroom and into that administrative world, and so I already had kind of this background with the product and the tools, and from the teacher lens, which I definitely brought with me and was not shy about sharing. We became last spring kind of aware of some of the plans at the state level, and really had to make some tough decisions about what was August going to look like. We were one of the first schools to decide to bring students back in person and offer in-person learning in a couple different formats. And with that, there were a lot of pieces to consider with mitigation plans and getting teachers prepared for that. And we had to make a decision at the time that it just wasn't best for us right then. And so slowly, as things kind of settled and we got a groove going for the year, we felt that from our team's perspective, the EdTech world, that we could start to pursue this a little bit further. And so if I was going to label it, I would put us somewhere in between that kind of that vision phase and that planning phase, as we're starting to kind of plan what some of that professional development might look like in the spring, take some of those tools and strategies that we learned from the VCLI and kind of translate that into our own world and hopefully get some classroom level momentum going in the starting this spring.
And Matt, you have obviously have gotten, I don't know what you've gotten yourself into here as the tech director of the group, going into kind of a new platform. And that's always challenging, I think, as educational technology people will tell you that have ever implemented a new tool or tried to integrate into, current systems. So talk a little bit about how things are going for you and where you are at in the process.
Well, about 5 years ago, I kind of finished up implementing the one-to-one program, implemented Google in my previous district over in Wrangell. Then I sailed over here, and now I'm over here in Thorn Bay with Southeast Island School District, and we have a lot of very small schools, and one larger school here in Thorn Bay. And Canvas has always kind of been my dream. In Wrangell, we had an experience with Moodle. It ate the teachers' classrooms. They had a bad taste about learning management systems, and so I'm really excited that Canvas adds a different aspect to that. You guys offer that support. It's going to work, and our teachers can rely on the Alaska Commons, or the Canvas Commons, which is a great selling point for us because we have a lot of schools that are 1 to 2 teacher sites. And when you have a 1 teacher school and you have K through 12 in that school, you need resources that you can just go and pull out in a hurry. And I think that that's something that our state license with Canvas is really a selling factor for my teachers. Why should you do this buy-in when you're already maxed out during COVID being a 1 teacher school? And Canvas is a resource that gives them the ability to really kind of leverage the ability to differentiate between their students and have tools that can support them. One of the things I loved about the VLCI was that we actually chatted about the resources as a state, and that we have the training, and for us smaller districts, having resources we can go pull from our neighbors is a huge deal. And that is something I don't think would have happened without kind of the support that this VLCI provided in our team here at Instructure.
We talk a lot about, it came up this morning in our previous live stream, that there is a community of users that are tied to this platform that, and I'm not just saying it, I know it's hard because it's like, it's the man telling you about the company, right? But I'm telling you, that's what drew me to Canvas. I was a user, I was a client. I started a fan-based podcast for the product. I love this thing. And there are hundreds and thousands, maybe millions of me. There's 1 point something million people in the Canvas community, and they're all willing to help. And the fact that you can lean on those state instance people that are, the go-getters, the people that have been doing Canvas for a while, you can go to them and they're willing to help with everything that you guys are putting out there. And I love that. The community aspect of Canvas has always been the largest selling point to me when I was a client, and continues to be when I tell great stories like what's happening in Alaska. Now, we talked a little bit, you mentioned it, so there's a great segue right into the Virtual Canvas Leadership Institute, and that is what we refer to as the VCLI. And Alaska, you guys had 65 people recently attend the VCLI. So I really want to talk about what you learned and tell us the story of what maybe your next steps might be with that Virtual Learning Institute. Tammy, why don't you go ahead and get us started on that?
Okay, well, good grief. What an exciting opportunity it was for all of us in Alaska. I know when Dave first talked to us about, the opportunity to do a VCLI in Alaska, he said, so I think we can have like 30 people. Well, we have 54 districts. So, we use that as kind of a little lever. Well, we need at least 54 spots. Well, so anyway, we put together our list of, these are the leaders across the state. We had superintendents, principals, tech folks, just all across the board, and sent out the invitations and really let people know, look, we're not asking you to join the Canvas Leadership Institute so you can learn where to click. We're asking you to join so you can learn how to lead and really how to make a Canvas implementation in your district work well. And we're also very committed to developing a network of Canvas users across the state so that individual districts are not out there on their own. And like, Matt is in a small district. He's one of many in small districts. And so many of those folks in small districts across the state really rely on, the relationships that they're able to build through network-based initiatives so they can kind of trade tips and tricks and learn from each other and share all the good stuff. And then through, the Alaska Commons or Canvas Commons to be able to share courses, pull down shells and really work together to improve teaching and learning across the state. The vision was to start to grow that network, and also as a PR move so that everybody knew what was available through our statewide license. And when we had, well over 60 people actually show up on March 1st for our VCLI, we were just really thrilled. Commissioner Johnson joined us for a little bit to thank everybody for being there. It was just a terrific experience for everybody. And Ali and Matt were two of the participants, and we're just totally jazzed to have so many people so actively engaged that day, which has led to even greater engagement since that time.
Ollie, what did you take away from that? Obviously, kind of that was your first VCLI probably with our company, and being a huge fan of Canvas, what did you take away as kind of a veteran user?
Yeah, so really two tiers, two worldviews and perspectives that I would share regarding that question. So I guess to backtrack to roughly this time last year's feedback that we received from parents end of the last school year was overwhelmingly frustrated with the number of places that things lived, right? Digital tools that were being used, places stuff was getting parked, how teachers were using it, too much, right? And so that was part of our conversation entering this school year. It never really occurred to me to consider how our teachers, at no fault of their own, when they were thrown into this, were creating some of that anxiety Obviously, there are a lot of variables that go into that. And so one of the activities, if I'm going to speak specifically about the VCLI that we did that really resonated with me, is we looked at 2 course shells, Algebra 1 course shells, and exact same identical content. And hopefully I'm not spoiling this if you're trying to, am I allowed to talk about the VCLI?
Okay. Absolutely. That's
okay, right? Perfect. So just the experience of going through a course that was structured in a certain way, using certain templates, color schemes, naming conventions, had a nice landing page, directions for students, and then trying to navigate a similar experience, but missing all of those things, and just to kind of discuss and rank our anxiety and how that made us feel as a hypothetical learner, right, or a parent. And that part of that really resonated with me. Is just like, oh man, I gotta, whether it's regardless of LMS that we're currently using, or if people are considering, like that is just something we didn't do a good enough job kind of front loading and preparing our teachers for. If I were to kind of go up a level and up a perspective and worldview, for starters, it was just fascinating to be able to collaborate with people from other districts. That hasn't been, we haven't had a lot of opportunity to do that in the last year. And I'm sure we've all been in our fair share of not the most engaging digital meetings. And so it was just really well done from start to finish. It was awesome to hear the challenges and struggles and questions that other districts were having and how they were addressing those. And we discussed at one point in time, it's kind of this delicate balance between, how are you setting expectations and your levels of support, and kind of this quadrant of culture, and kind of how just all these different considerations, and I could go on and on and on, but it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, it's you talk about those specific examples. That's one that was always fun to do with my staff. Here are 2 very different ways that you can approach using Canvas. Which one of them makes you more frustrated? Because you can, that's just real world, right? You throw that right into now take a look at your course and kind of do a little bit of a self audit, and then all of a sudden things start opening up, right? The eyes get a little wide and they're ready to start making some change, which is a really good thing when it comes to this virtual learning. Now, Matt, obviously new guy on this side. Tell us what you learned from the VCLI. Oh no, Matt, you're muted. It's like,
there we go. So what I took away a couple of different things. Technically speaking, I've dabbled in Canvas for a long time. That part wasn't that scary to me. I'm used to being the tech guy in the room. But what was the very valuable for me was the networking with some of our other districts that were nearby, and some of for one, they were all in different places. I had Petersburg, where they had been a long time user of Canvas, and they had come from Moodle. So I had similar understandings of our backgrounds, but they had managed to switch from Moodle over to Canvas long before the state contract, and to hear some of their struggles. And then on our own island, we have a couple districts which we're actively implementing. I think close by we had Cake, but also Craig. And Craig had been doing this a little bit ahead of us, and they're a little bigger with more resources. And so getting to speak with them about their experiences of what went good, what went bad with teachers, getting those cheerleading teachers, because they knew that they weren't going to be able to help everyone from, I'm a one person tech department with 7 schools, 150 students, but then a lot of the staff associated. As this goes, part of the success is going to be having people other than myself. And I have to say, the chat feature, being like, go use the chat in the Canvas, since we have tier 1 support through Canvas and our state license, that is very powerful, because it's, there are people there to help you beyond me. And that really is an important piece. And so what I'm looking at is we are, this year we created our correspondence program, AK Trails, for our district. And I know that there's a heavy focus on that, is our rural island has some changing dynamics, really highlighting the individuality of our students, whether they're fishing, logging, subsistence, and giving them the power to continue. In Wrangell, I came from a district, we had 97% connectivity. And so everyone, when we went, when COVID hit, we were able to go home, and they were able to, go pick out that big box of tools, and they could go do it, and they had good success. Here we have about 40%. And so getting that, the tricks of being able to download these courses and for offline use is a very powerful feature for the future for us, hopefully along with Starlink.
Tammy, where do you go from here? The VCL, I know when you do a lot of these, and they're right, the best PD you can ever do with anyone is just put everybody in a room and say, hey guys, why don't you just talk about some of the things that you guys are going through? That is the best PD ever. And the fact that you get a chance to do that in this VCLI, I think is phenomenal, that you get to see people from other districts, like you said, Matt and Ali. The things that you guys are going through aren't new. Somebody out there has done them before you and found a bunch of ways to fix the problem, which is fantastic. And I think that's the best PD you could ever give me, is just an opportunity to sit with others. So Tammy, where do you guys go from here? Again, it's like one of those things, you get in that room, you have a huge, day, and everybody's excited and pumped up, and you go home and you're like, my brain is buzzing. So what sort of things are you guys putting together now that kind of came out of the VCLI?
Yeah, well, I can speak, to the state level. Where do we go from here? And it's very exciting. As a result of all the buzz around Canvas and the statewide contract, we have extended for 2 years. So the Department of Education will be picking. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. So we'll be picking it up for 2 additional years. So that provides us with a really great opportunity to, really build and develop this network. We hope to make the VCLI something that is certainly annual, if not, a couple of times a year. I know that several districts reached out after the VCLI was over to say, okay, that was really cool. Now, how do we do something similar for our district,
Right.
especially in the larger districts where they're trying to build that leadership capacity and really, develop the same kind of buzz among their staff. So just, doing what we did as many times as we can, which was get those people in the room and let them interact, let them learn together, let them share, and just continue to grow the Canvas network across the state of Alaska. So it really does outlast all of us. It does become a learning management system that supports our state's mission at the Department of Ed, which is an excellent education for every student every day. Canvas will help us do that.
I love it. The tagline: print it, record it, put it out on all social media platforms. Tammy from Alaska just completely crushed that. She did a better job than I could. She could run this live stream. We are so excited that you joined us today. If you are interested or have questions about the VLCI, and obviously we've got Dave here from Alaska. So if you're from Alaska and you're watching us today, please contact your learning consultant, Dave Dick. He is more than happy to help, or I'm sure anybody on this call can help you. He's raising the roof right now because he's very excited. We really appreciate you spending some time. I also put in the chat a link to, if you're not from Alaska and you don't have somebody to reach out to like Dave, click that link. You can, check a little sign up box there, and somebody will contact you about the VCLI. So super excited that you guys joined us today. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Tammy. We appreciate you and everything that you're doing in Alaska. Keep crushing it out there. I know it's rough because, you're way out there, but you're doing fantastic things. All I hear about is like, Alaska is crushing it. So I love it. And I can't wait to get to do this more often with you guys. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Eddie.